Frank is a movie star now.
Fuck is this?
They put a bullet hole, puta. Room service, motherfucker!
Put the gun down. I've done things in my life that you wouldn't even think about.
After 14 brutal years rotting in a concrete cell, Frank White walks through the prison gates into a New York City that no longer belongs to him. The morning sun feels foreign on his weathered face as he surveys a world transformed. This isn't the same city he ruled with an iron fist before his fall from grace. The feared crime lord who once commanded respect from every corner pusher to corrupt politician finds his empire scattered like ashes in the wind. Colombian cartels have seized his drug territories. Chinese triads control his gambling operations. Everything he built through decades of calculated violence and strategic alliances has been carved up by foreign invaders who show no respect for the old ways, no understanding of the delicate ecosystem he once maintained. But Frank White isn't just any ex-convict stumbling into an uncertain future. Behind those cold, calculating eyes burns an unquenchable fire, a vision of justice that most would call twisted, but he calls necessary. He's about to remind New York why they once whispered his name in darkened alleys and corporate boardrooms alike. The city's underworld trembles as news spreads like wildfire. Frank White is back, and he's not looking for a quiet retirement. Blood begins flowing through the streets like a crimson tide. Elio, a Colombian boss who grew fat and comfortable controlling the prostitution racket, steps out of his nightclub expecting another profitable evening. Instead, he meets his executioner in the form of multiple gunshots that tear through his body, leaving him crumpled on the sidewalk as his expensive suit soaks up his life's blood. The killer vanishes into the night, leaving behind only a corpse and a crystal-clear message. The old king has returned to reclaim his throne. At the luxurious Plaza Hotel, Jimmy, Frank's most loyal and ruthless lieutenant, sets an elaborate trap that will become legend in criminal circles. During what appears to be a routine drug negotiation with King Tito, a major Colombian supplier known for his paranoid security and hair-trigger temper, Jimmy presents a leather suitcase that should contain hundreds of thousands in payment. King Tito's greed turns to confusion, then horror, as he discovers the case packed with sanitary pads instead of cash. Before the Colombian can process this bizarre insult, Jimmy transforms from mild-mannered negotiator to angel of death. His weapon appears with practiced efficiency.
Fuck is this?
They put a bullet hole, puta. Room service, motherfucker!
And the hotel suite explodes into chaos. King Tito's bodyguards reach for their guns, but find only death waiting. Bodies collapse across expensive furniture as Jimmy methodically eliminates every witness to Frank's new reign of terror. This isn't random violence, it's surgical precision with a deadly purpose. Frank's resurrection isn't driven by simple revenge or greed for power. In his twisted moral universe, he sees himself as a necessary evil, a dark guardian angel cleaning up a city corrupted by those who prey on the innocent without his sense of honor. He surrounds himself with the real power brokers of New York, corrupt politicians whose souls were purchased long ago, district judges who've forgotten what justice looks like, and lawyers who specialize in making inconvenient problems disappear. When Frank enters their private dining rooms and exclusive clubs, you can witness the fascinating dance between fear and avarice in their eyes. They despise what he represents but desperately need what he provides, the money that keeps their lifestyle intact and their secrets buried. Frank's war against the Chinese triads becomes a masterclass in urban warfare. Wong, the calculating triad leader who controls human trafficking operations throughout Chinatown, makes the fatal mistake of trying to dictate terms to a man who accepts no authority but his own. Wong demands full payment up front for a massive drug shipment.
$3 million up front, like you said.
Believing his reputation and muscle will force compliance. Instead, Frank's war machine rolls through Chinatown's narrow streets like an unstoppable force of nature. The assault unfolds with military precision as Frank's crew systematically dismantles Wong's organization. Restaurants that served as fronts for illegal operations become battlegrounds. Underground gambling dens turn into graveyards. Wong's soldiers, accustomed to intimidating helpless victims, discover the difference between predators and apex predators. When the smoke clears, Wong's entire empire lies in ruins. His assets, millions in cash, drugs, and property, are seized to fund Frank's greater vision. Wong himself faces his executioner with the dawning realization that he picked a fight with the wrong man. His death marks the end of foreign control over Chinatown's criminal enterprises. But Frank's crusade reveals its most complex dimension through his relationship with legitimate institutions. Using the blood money seized from his conquests, he becomes an unlikely philanthropist, funding a desperately needed hospital in the South Bronx. This isn't mere money laundering or public relations. It's Frank's genuine attempt to create something positive from the violence he orchestrates. "I'm not the problem," he tells anyone who questions his methods. "I'm eliminating the real problems, the ones who hurt people without purpose, without honor." His moral code might be incomprehensible to society, but it's absolutely real to him. Detective Dennis and his elite task force watch Frank's ascension with growing horror and frustration.
Frank is a fucking movie star now.
They witness his consolidation of power over the drug trade, his corruption of public officials, and his seemingly untouchable status. Traditional law enforcement tactics prove useless against someone who's mastered the system's weaknesses and exploited every loophole. Dennis faces a terrible choice. Watch Frank build an empire on violence and corruption, or step outside the law himself to stop what courts and legal procedures cannot touch. The decision tears at his conscience.
There's only one way to get Frank.
You gonna shoot everybody you can arrest Dennis?
But Frank's growing influence and body count tip the scales toward vigilante justice. The final confrontation erupts in a trendy nightclub where Frank's crew celebrates their latest victories. The venue pulses with music and laughter until betrayal shatters the illusion of safety. Delicio, Frank's trusted middleman who facilitated countless deals, reveals his true colors as the architect of an elaborate trap. Corrupt police officers burst through entrances like an invading army. Their badges twisted into instruments of personal vengeance rather than justice. The nightclub transforms into a war zone as automatic weapons tear through walls and mirrors. Innocent partygoers scream and dive for cover, while Frank's bodyguards return fire with professional efficiency. Frank himself moves through the chaos with supernatural calm. Using everything from fire extinguishers to improvised weapons to fight his way toward escape. The battle spills into the city streets, creating a high-speed chase through New York's concrete arteries.
Go, go!
Police cars weave through traffic while bullets shatter windows and tear through metal. Frank's driving becomes an extension of his will to survive. Every turn and acceleration calculated to stay ahead of death, closing in from all directions. The pursuit leads into the subway system's labyrinthine tunnels, where fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows on tiled walls that will witness the final act of Frank's bloody drama. In a train car filled with terrified passengers, Detective Roy corners his quarry with determination born of desperation. Frank grabs an innocent bystander, transforming them into a human shield while his eyes remain cold and calculating. Roy pleads for surrender, knowing that dozens of lives hang in the balance.
Put the gun down.
I've done things in my life that you wouldn't even think about.
Frank's response cuts through the tension with chilling clarity. "I never killed anybody who didn't deserve it," he declares before his weapon speaks its final truth. But even kings must eventually face their mortality. Roy's dying shot finds its mark, sending Frank stumbling through the underground maze as his life bleeds out through bullet wounds. He reaches the surface world and collapses into a taxi, hoping for one last escape from the consequences of his choices. As police sirens wail through the night like the city's death song, Frank White, the self-proclaimed king of New York, dies alone in the vehicle's backseat. His crown of violence and corruption finally slips from his head, leaving behind only the echo of gunshots and the weight of his complicated legacy. The streets he fought to rule and reform claim him in the end, delivering a brutal lesson about power built on violence. It crumbles just as violently as it was created. Frank's vision of justice through controlled chaos dies with him, leaving the city to find its own path toward redemption. Frank White dreamed of being a dark Robin Hood for the urban wasteland, stealing from criminals to give to the deserving. But he discovered that good intentions cannot wash blood from your hands or cleanse a soul stained by necessary evils. In trying to save his city from predators, he became the apex predator and learned that every king's reign must eventually end in the same darkness where it began.